Cessna 182 versus Cessna Super 170. I chose the same locations so you guys can see the different performance. Which airplane performs better and which one is easier to fly? You will be surprised. In the case of gravel bars, even if it is the same gravel bar, they do change a lot. So it will give you an idea, but it's not exactly the same place. Gravel bars keep changing all the time. This view from inside a cockpit can give you a better idea of which airplane is harder to fly in these conditions. This is a short takeoff with a turn to the left, and it's kind of a sharp turn at low altitude. In the 170 we're in the air a lot quicker, so it is much easier to do this kind of takeoff into the turn. You have plenty of time to set up for the turn, and the airplane feels comfortable doing the turn at slow speed. This is another look from the outside again, taking off. This is called Dogleg Gravel Bar in Washington State. This is a pretty challenging takeoff, no matter the airplane, but definitely in the 182 you are working harder and you need to be more proficient. You are a lot more on the edge on the 182 in this kind of turn, so it demands more from the pilot. So this kind of turn, I have to add power, is more on the edge on the 182 than in the 170, more demanding for the pilot. In the 170 it feels more natural to do the slow turn, also because of the big tires. You don't have to worry so much about the surface. You can have some plants or bigger rocks overgrown. The 170 definitely feels more comfortable doing the slow turn, but the 182 can do it also. This is in Skagit, doing this just for fun. We know the water is shallow. Do a little splash. Same place in the 170. For this kind of flying, the 170 feels more at home. Big tires, slower approach speeds, and is less demanding from the pilot. Sometimes I hear tailwheel pilots making fun of trike pilots, and actually it doesn't make sense because it is a lot harder and you have to work harder on a trike for this kind of flying. So if you fly a trike, be proud of it. And if you have a tailwheel airplane, before making fun of a trike pilot, go do some off airport on a trike. It's a lot harder. Here, landing at a grass field with lots of undulations. On the track, this could be a little bit dangerous because you can hit the slope with the propeller. So you have to time it right. So for off-airport operations, the 170 beats the 182 for sure, but the 182 can do a lot also. You need to be more careful with the surfers and the big rocks or logs, and also demands more from the pilot. Off-airport flying is challenging, it's not for beginners, and with the trike you're taking more chances and you're more on the edge. Now let's go to some grass strips and see how they perform. This is Bandera in Washington State. The 182 with bigger tires can take on all the grass strips. I have never had any problems. Some of them are pretty uneven or rough, but it can take it no problem. So we use 1/3 of the strip with the 182, no problem. Same approach with the 170. Now this is with no wind. If there was wind, the 182 will beat the 170 because it's a lot more stable and will be a lot easier to land when it's windy. 170 approach speed is about 8 miles an hour slower than the 182. Now keep in mind I have more than 2,000 hours in the 182 and only 50 hours in the 170. So there's lots of room for improvement on the 170. On this landing I think they did about the same. With no wind, the 170 is less demanding from the pilot to land this short. The 182 and the 170 have the same mods: Sportsman's Toolkit and VG's empty propeller. The 170 weighs 300 pounds less than the 182, and that makes a big difference. The 170 likes steep approaches. You can come real slow. The empty propeller slows you down and it's like an air brake, and because it is light it comes very steep, very slow. For grass strips I think both airplanes are great. The 170 can land shorter and take off shorter, but I think the 182 can do very short grass strips also. For the takeoff, both airplanes have great performance and there's no problem. Again, I will be more comfortable in the 182 if it was windy, because the 170 is lighter, so it's more fragile to the wind. These strips surrounded by big trees can get really nasty when it is windy. The manual flaps are an advantage on the 170. I'm taking off with 20 degrees of flaps, and as soon as I raise the tail I add 10 more and the airplanes are flying. So that helps shorten the takeoff roll. Skycomish State Airport in Washington. Again, big trees and it's in a valley. 182 approaches slow, a little steep, and no problem for this kind of strips. Even shorter strips, 182 can do really well on grass. .70 approach is slower, no wind, so there is no problems and feels comfortable. If it was windy, it would be all over the place and would be a real challenge in this kind of strip. So for grass strips, both airplanes are great. I don't see an advantage on the 170. Actually, the 182 can carry a lot more weight and can deal with the winds a lot better. Takeoff, 182 may take a little more distance to get in the air, but both of them do really well and climb with good authority. On this takeoff I am working the manual flaps on the 170. I lift the tail, and when I get speed I put 30 degrees of flaps, get in the air, stay in ground effect until I feel the airplane pushing up with a ground effect force, and then I reduce 10 degrees for climbing out with 20 degrees of flaps. Something to note is that the 182 cruises at 140 miles an hour and the 170 cruises at 120 miles an hour. Here is a steep approach into Skycomish. You see the nose of the airplane never points down. I'm always keeping the nose up and I'm controlling my descent with power and my speed with pitch. This can also be done with the 182 or any other airplane. I have not taken the 170 to Idaho yet, but I think I will prefer the 182. It is faster, it is more comfortable, I can sleep inside the airplane, I can bring 2 mountain bikes, can carry a lot, have autopilot, can land on all the grass strips, and can deal with the wind better. This is Johnson Creek in Idaho. I have been to all the technical airstrips in Idaho that I wanted to visit, and the 182 performed really well. I think the 170 will perform really well also, and probably with more margin, but I cannot see a huge advantage for the 182. 170 has great visibility, definitely beats the 182 on that, but on speed and comfort for traveling, definitely the 182 is much better. You go faster, and definitely the cabin is a lot wider, so it's more comfortable. Instrument panel in the 170 is pretty simple. 182 is IFR, 2 GPSs, autopilot, storm scope, so for traveling it's much better, apart from being more roomier. Both airplanes are equipped with Alpha Systems angle of attack indicator, which I really like and recommend. Rough gravel bars, big rocks or medium rocks, definitely the big tires on the 170 have a bit advantage. This is a place I will not take the 182. The nose gear is the weakest link on that airplane. So at the end, both airplanes are great. 182 I think is more versatile. Can also do the gravel bars. It's only more demanding for the pilot for off airport, but for the rest, it's easier than the 170. Please join me on Patreon to support Backcountry 182 YouTube channel. To be a patron of Backcountry 182, go to the YouTube channel. On the right hand side, there is the link, and then it takes you to the Patreon page. Here you can see all the tiers and what is all about the support for Backcountry 182 YouTube channel. Also, another way to access the Patreon link is in the description of the video I put in YouTube. On Backcountry 182 channel there is a link for Patreon, so just click on that and it will take you to the page. Thank you for watching, and it will be amazing if you guys are interested and give some support.
Larry's wife, and today we're excited to announce the launching of Patreon for our YouTube channel Backcountry 182, which give fans and friends the opportunity to support creators like Larry and myself by paying a monthly amount and receiving exclusive content. So with your support through Patreon, we will be able to make more and better content more often and new videos. And Larry can connect with you more personally to hear your questions and concerns, and what would you like to see. The really cool thing of being a patron is that every dollar amount does help. So go ahead and check out the tiers. You can be a fan and look through our goals to see what we will be able to achieve together at every level of support. Come join us.